Right, so I have returned once again today to actually deliver a stream of Chainsaw Man Initial D. It do be one of those days. Hopefully YouTube actually is kicking any second now. I do believe in YouTube. Yeah, for some reason my brain immediately thought, because it's Sunday, it's Chainsaw Man Day, but actually it's not this week, it's next week. So yeah, my brain was like, oh yeah, today we're actually covering some more Chainsaw Man. No, today actually I'm covering some more Initial D. As we put in this stream, actually I'll cover episode 16 and 17 of Initial D, and as in episode 14 and 15 were goddamn incredible, I must say. Like, the best of the series thus far. The whole entire battle between Takumi and Shingo was just, oh, so good. It was just brilliant. I just, oh, that fight, it's kind of, I guess, in a way, but it's not at the same time. I guess it's just a race, which is kind of a fight between two people in a certain case, I guess you can also make it to be. But the actual race itself was just, it was so good. It was so good, I loved it. I just couldn't get enough of it. I wanted to actually just see, I could actually watch that replay of Takumi just slowly just kind of turning out of the way of Shingo for like all day, all year. Be like, bro, it's just the best thing ever. It was just so goddamn slick. But anyway, let's put on Twitter actually gone live. I have come full circle when you think about it. I find actually watching a show. I'm watching a show about driving. My actual name is called The Driver. I've come full circle. My career was leading towards this one moment, and I believe that we should are good to go. I certainly are. That she can get this show on the road. So in 3, 2, 1. That should be his thing. Absolutely now. Still do actually wonder how many people actually try doing the drift in real life after watching the show, considering it actually has like a goddamn PSA on the actual anime. But yeah, I mean, goddamn. I do actually kind of like how the victory itself, as I said beforehand, wasn't necessarily like a complete victory. It was more like a hollow victory, because it wasn't. Hello, morning. How's it going? I do appreciate the name as well. To be honest, the name's actually really damn cool. You are named after the best boy of Pop Team Epic. But I like how the actual victory itself was quite hollow in a way, because though he did in theory win against Shingo, actually kind of did in theory exert kind of the revenge he actually was trying to get, actually stop him, because he actually was an absolute scumbag. It felt like it wasn't Takumi driving at that point. It was more or less like the emotions overrode everything else, pardon the pun, and actually then someone else was actually driving completely, because you actually could tell, because it was way more he had zero regard for the car. The car was basically destroyed by the end of it, almost. And Punto was kind of like, oh, what have you done here, lad? It's actually not, this isn't right, you can't be doing this. So I actually kind of like how, even though, yeah, he won the race, it wasn't necessarily like an absolute win. It was more or less kind of like, oh no, you got a long way to go, lad, basically. It's a really good thing to do, because it doesn't actually kind of like, it doesn't necessarily kind of like say, well, the protagonist actually has gotten to that point just yet. He's got a long way to go still. It's nice. Also like how Itsuki was kind of like racers don't actually need girlfriends, and they actually might in theory be a new romance blossoming in the actual anime. Damn. I don't know why, but the drift's really satisfying to watch. Quite mathematical, I must say. Quite mathematical. Reminds me of like reminds me a little bit of Rally, because Rally has a person in the passenger seat telling them like at what point to kind of turn and actually how many inches to actually turn at, if I remember correctly. See, I know my car things, even though I don't drive. I love after Itsuki's proclamation of like speed racers don't need girlfriends. It's like, by the way, Iketani actually might have found a girlfriend. It's like, oh, poor Itsuki. I do love I do love our characters in the show though. They're also goddamn good. They're all a bunch of goofs in the end. True bros, absolute true bros, right there. When they break up, they're there to actually be there, be like, bro, don't worry, you can cry on my shoulder. That's bromanship right there. That's bromanship. You gotta aspire to be like Itsuki. You gotta aspire to be like that man. He's the bro. He's a Joe bro. He's acquired Joe bro status. Can't believe it. The boy just acquired Joe bro status. That feel when you actually get lost in thought so much, you start spinning up in your car. Very dangerous. Do not do that. Very dangerous. This show is so good. Even outside the racing, it's actually amazing. We had an episode that actually was like that film when no GF to actually that film when GF. I love Itsuki's just kind of like, we don't need girls, bro. Don't worry about it. It's actually kind of adorable. Look at them just being like bros. The other two are like bro. The other group's like bros, and then we actually have a possible couple. Who knows? It's kind of adorable, this show now. You could tell he's like falling head over heels at this point. Oh. Oh. Very interesting developments. Very interesting developments. I think by the end of this show, I'm like a pro when it comes to cars. It'll be asking me random questions, be like, I know that car. I still actually do need to hunt down the actual Initial D games from PS2 at some point. I do swear, in somewhere in England, there's actually an Initial D racing arcade cabinet. So I remember seeing it at one point. I swear it's in an amusement park somewhere in England. I swear, if I'm not mistaken. If I actually could buy one, I probably would buy one as well. For another reason, it just looks really freaking cool. And also it's Initial D. He's got rid his conversation somewhere else. Whoa, hey. Car pun. Oh man, one per stream. Oh, interesting. Ikutane's on cloud 9, boys. He's vibing somewhere else. He's vibing somewhere else now. He's vibing somewhere else completely. It's kids in the corner just like, racists don't need girls. Racists don't need girls. It's kids just trying to like constantly just trying to like say, we're okay, boys, we're okay. That was a pretty damn impressive drift. Bro, you can't do that. That's a vibe check, bro. Iketani, my dude. You can't be saying those things. You can't be just going out there being like, yeah, I'm the pro at drifting. It don't work that way. Life don't work that way. You got to train. You got to be like, I can slightly do it, and then you actually train up to the point you actually be like, bro, I can do it. Iketani, my boy. Iketani, my boy. That was almost a bro moment. That was almost a bra moment. Uh-oh. Revelations. Revelations. Bro. 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 It's not good. It's not good, bro. See what I mean? It's trying to. It's a lonely driver. He's trying. The boy's trying. He was like, we don't need girls, boys. We can do it. Pritsky. Oh. Maybe there might be just some kind of reconciliation at the end of this. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. He's gonna play like a fiddle. Oh boy. Ikatani gonna play like a fiddle. Can't believe it. What's going on here? Are we just here to suffer? You just hear Itsuki in the corner just shouting, "Racists don't need girls." Our poor boy. How could they do this to my poor boy? Damn. Poor boy. How could they do this to our boy? He's a good boy. Play like a fiddle. Play like a goddamn fiddle. Can't believe it. Just can't trust anyone nowadays, can you? Can't trust anyone nowadays. Very interesting proposition though. I was kind of like, bro, at the end of that. I thought that was very... fits my camera slightly. That was a very interesting proposition at the end of the whole entire thing, but yeah, very interesting episode overall, actually, to be honest. Once again, kind of it was one extreme to another at the end of it. I was kind of like, oh, this is actually kind of adorable. Oh, okay. So I'm guessing now we actually might have our next battle, so to speak. So I actually can't wait to see what actually does with Free happen there. And actually, what possibly would, in theory, be the actual eventual outcome of the story between Marco and Itsuki as well. Not Itsuki, Ikatani. I wonder what's going to happen there. It's going to be very interesting to see it, though. It's going to be very interesting to see it. But man, the whole entire time, just to get closer to the 8-6. The 8-6, though, boy. It's the fabled car of the world. It's like everyone wants to face the 8-6. Everyone needs to face the 8-6. Actually, kind of feel accomplished. It's like, bruh, you got to feel accomplished somewhere else. You got to put your mind somewhere and actually accomplish that. The 8-6 is but a car, bro. The car is more things in life, bro. Who knows? Who knows, as they say. I don't know. These are some real feels though. Some real feels. It's a little bit too much. It's like, yeah. Oh, how's this whole entire thing gonna end? I do wonder. How's it all gonna end? Episode 17 actually doesn't free load on Funimation. This show's really good though. This show's really good. I do love it. It's a whole lot of bra. It's a whole lot of bra in this show when you think about it. Once again, did not expect this level of bra in this show, but here we are. That rhymes, 10 points. Let's put on Twitter actually watching episode 17. So, shoot, didn't want to do that. We're good to go. We certainly are. So let's actually carry on and see what happens. Let's start the thing in 3, 2, 1. Let's start the thing absolutely now. How many days I can't stop sneezing. I have no idea why as well as a problem. I have no reason to start sneezing randomly, but my nose be painful. But yeah, I mean, this show just goes from very, very interesting to very, very interesting. Like, at any given point. Like, you think, oh, it's going to be a normal episode, and it's like, boom! You're like, oh shit, alright. So how is this whole entire thing going to end up, I wonder? I still feel sorry for Iketani, to be honest. The boy just got done. The boy just got done. He was just going there, he's going there to actually have, like, the best day of his life. It was, and then boom, at the end of it all, got done. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? I can't believe it. Honestly, who can you trust nowadays? Who can you trust? I actually kind of wonder, like, how Taku's actually win this whole entire thing, because it doesn't seem easy actually. She did do a continuous drift as well. It's like Shingo was like extremely hard because he actually had the whole entire thing with the actual steering wheel, but with Marco it's actually terrifying. The continuous drift was actually kind of scary. Just you kind of appreciate the show does in 3 always up the ante each time as well. It's like, again, it's like a shonen anime in that way. Like, there's no sense of breathing. Like, there's not like, oh yeah, by the way, you know, sometimes they might introduce a character. It's actually kind of like the middle ground until the actual next like big event. But with this show, it's kind of like each character does in 3 kind of progressively up the ante when it comes to like the difficulty, because it's not like anything. It's not as if like. What's the word I'm looking for? It's not. This one's very different to the last one. The last one was actually like the duct tape death match, essentially, which actually was like, bruh. But this one is like the continuous drift itself was absolutely like kind of terrifying. So it's one of those things. I guess you continuously drift across the entire thing. It makes the actual eventual then takeover even more harder. It's not as if you can just take over a continuous drift, because the drift is just doing that constantly. Also, the other thing to note is it's actually not necessarily on an area that that is actually well known when it comes to this show either. As well, that's the other thing to note. It's actually very different to what we actually know already. So it's actually another obstacle to actually overcome. So a lot to actually overcome when it comes to the show actually at this point. So yeah, I do actually kind of predict the show what it does when it comes to actually like progressively like just up in the ante. It's actually really well done because actually again it doesn't actually ever seem as if it's like, oh yeah, by the way, this isn't like the next big thing essentially. Like each event that doesn't really come into the show doesn't ever seem as if it's actually like an easy thing for any character involved. It seems as if it's actually one of those things. There's a lot to overcome in there. Actually might in theory be the first race that Takumi actually loses as well, which actually is very, very interesting. Because don't forget actually the long-standing idea about not losing to anyone else besides Takahashi brothers as well. That's the other thing to note. So I'm guessing if that happens, oof, not end very well either, is it? It is actually kind of interesting as well because it's not as if you're actually seeing a one-sided idea, a one-sided idea either. It's not as if, by the way, like those who race against Takumi are kind of like the enemies essentially. Like there's a lot going on that does in theory then humanize him as well. Like I imagine it's actually kind of humanized. It's more humanized than say Shingo was beforehand, because Shingo was an asshole essentially. But with Marco, it's a very different kind of like race because there's a lot more going on behind closed doors than what actually is led on to believe. As I'm saying, this race isn't straightforward or anything like that. This race has a lot going on that does in theory then impact the rest of the whole entirety of like characters in the world itself. It's actually very well done. I do actually like that. I also kind of like that it does also then like deconstruct what it is to be actually a racer as well, because it's not is I like how this show doesn't necessarily paint it as like kind of like light that is essentially pun upon, that is necessarily like there's a good thing. There's a lot of caveats that come with it essentially, and I kind of like that because it's actually one of those things that doesn't glorify the entire thing. It does actually kind of ground it in a sense of reality. That's very interesting. I like that. Very different once again. I like this show a lot. It's different how it approaches a lot of things. Like I like how it does in theory ground once again, talking against its reality as well, because the entire world has in theory exaggerated or actually kind of like made out of the 86 to be this mythical creature essentially, but in fact it's just a dude in the car, just racing. Just with good abilities. So actually, it's one of those things that possibly actually might get to a point that someone might come along and actually defeat them. From a narrative standpoint, it actually makes sense for Mako to actually be that character. Actually, might in free then actually beat Takumi, because she actually has a lot riding upon this whole entire race as well. I like it. I like it a lot. This show's really good. I actually love this show so much though. This show's so good. It's just, it does, I like how it's a constant change of emotion as well, because at first you can't like, oh, okay, Marco. But then once you actually do Infrared look beyond that whole entire idea, actually there's a lot that does Infrared then kind of make you kind of understand a lot about different characters as well, and I actually kind of like that. It's not just, again, it's not one-sided essentially. There's no one-sided idea in this whole entire show. We never paint anything just to be a race that Takumi actually can overcome instantly. Nothing is easy in this show, basically. I actually kind of like that, because it's one of those things it does. If it's not from a racing standpoint, from an emotional standpoint, there's actually a lot going on as well. So it kind of paints the racing to be this, like, in some regards, very grandiose kind of thing. Very much more like how you would see like a fight between a antagonist and a protagonist in an arc. It actually does really work very well. Intense. Ooh, all right, all right. I do actually really appreciate this show, though. This show's really damn good when it comes to like emotion and the actual storyline itself. It's actually it's just there's not one moment when it kind of just eases up, essentially, which I guess is also a pun on cars. Essentially, every single like arc or episode introduces someone that just actually kind of always constantly just keeps on making the actual like the threat just continuously going up, essentially. They don't want painting as anything to actually kind of be, oh, it's just like the middle part of a whole entire arc, don't worry about it, essentially. It can just be easily overcome. No, it just kind of always says, that, okay, do not ever let your guard down because you just don't know what can in theory happen. And seeing the entirety of actually how they actually frame Mako and the whole entire narrative, it does then kind of make you go, oh shit. It's actually one of those things. It's actually one of those races where you can't, like, yeah, she might in theory lose. Who knows? Ooh. Essentially, it's basically just gonna try something and actually just hope. I like that. So that's not a plan. It's gonna hope that it actually doesn't really pan out how I expect. But who knows? Well, this song's really good. I love this song. We'll see how this whole entire thing concludes tomorrow. But yeah, I like what this show does. This show does a really good, just does a really good thing, because it never ever once tells you anything's an easy win or anything's like an easy race. Essentially, it's not as if the race can just be done. That's it. Essentially, it's what I would define to be a race that isn't so like impactful in a way. In essence, it's not as if the race can just be done and that's it, essentially. You don't think about it afterwards. Essentially, I like what this show does, because it always constantly tells you there's more to this race than just them racing, essentially. Like, the whole entire thing of actually how they structured Mako and his whole entire narrative actually was really well done, because it's constantly telling you... It's not... Oh god, my chair's falling down. I can't sit like that, my chair's going to fall down if I do. It's constantly telling you that... It's constantly telling you the emotional impact this actual race will have on Mako's actual kind of overall idea, and actually then pair that with how Ikutani actually is as well. It's much more than just a race. Is what this show always does. This show always paints it as more than just a race. It's actually people racing for a cause, and I like that, because it's one of those things. It doesn't ever feel like all these things are just there to actually kind of kind of fill time, or actually just be a race actually kind of put underneath Takami's actual belt. No, it's more than that, and I actually kind of appreciate that. It's one of the things this show does really damn well. It's what I wish more shows would do. In essence, just don't feel like these are just in-betweens to actually then have the eventual big race of the entire series. No, always like make these things count, essentially. And I think when I actually look at the whole entire thing, I actually think Mako's actual race is probably my favourite of the whole entire series. It's because of actually how much they frame her character in the entire narrative, actually how much your opinion just changes as time goes on. And actually then you actually understand her whole entire like reason as well. It's one of those things, what the show does really, really damn well. It makes you understand every single infinite detail about these characters. Probably won't do episodes 18, 19, and 20 tomorrow, I think. That's how we'll do tomorrow. And then do 21, 22, 23 on Tuesday, and then I guess on Wednesday we'll probably finish it off. Depends on how much we actually get done tomorrow, I guess. But yeah, I mean, this show is just relentlessly good. Like, it's one that it's a big surprise how good this series actually is. Because I've always known this series is good. Like, the series has always been like one of those ones everyone's like, yeah, it's really damn good. But when you actually kind of sit down and watch it, you begin to actually understand like the intricacies of each character, actually how they are in the world and everything like that. It just becomes a show that just is more than just racing. It's a way of life, essentially. I know it's a meme. I know it's a meme when you say it's not just X, it's a way of life, but it really is. And I like how it does it. I like how it tells you what it's like to be a racer, and actually how it does in theory impact Mako's actual overall kind of like life, and actually how she just wants to have like a normal life. Actually have a relationship, actually kind of just break out of the actual kind of stigma she's actually currently in. And I appreciate that because it does in theory then tell you a lot more about how racing actually is then seen. Actually how it does in theory impact the image of someone. Actually how they might then kind of have a not so great outlook on the entirety of racing itself, because we always kind of known that racing isn't this like grandiose thing from Takami's actual perspective. But then you actually also have the other moments where it doesn't free then impact your own life, but this actually doesn't free then do a lot more than just that. And I actually kind of like that it's not just one character, it's every character has a different way of looking at racing. I also kind of like how it went from a kind of like a pseudo-romantic kind of like part of the entire narrative to actually then becoming something very much more emotional, actually very much more impactful to actually how the rest of the narrative actually might play out. Because it's true, in a way, Takami actually is like a fish out of water in this whole entire scenario, because he's in a completely different place. He doesn't know so well. He's not in Akina anymore, essentially. And it's actually kind of one of those things you actually do through wonder, how will he actually be able to overcome this whole entire thing? He can't just breeze through it and actually just be A-okay about everything. That's what I'm saying. This race isn't just blink and it's done, essentially. It's not just, you won't think about this race ever again. It's not one of those races, essentially. This race means a lot. It's actually one of those things, it carves out to be one of those races. That does impact a lot of different things, because this then helps to actually kind of learn a lot about how different races do and for then work. Apply that then back maybe to Akina's actual eventual possible final confrontation as well, and everything else in between. It does all those things. It doesn't ever let up the actual like tension. The tension's never left. You actually kind of think it has. You're like, oh, this actually might not be so bad. And then you actually see the intricacies of actually how Mako works. You're like, oh shit, this actually might be that race. And I actually kind of like that. The show's always like, it might just be that race that he loses. And I kind of think that's just what you need. You need that constant sense of tension. Otherwise, if you don't have that constant sense of tension, it doesn't ever feel like there's actually kind of anything else. You don't feel like anyone else is a threat besides Ryosuke and also then Keisuke, or actually Shingo as well. You don't feel like anyone else is a threat besides those three characters. But how they then frame everyone else, it does then kind of tell you that no race is ever gonna be a race that can just be overcome instantly. It's not as if Takumi can actually just go in there and walk out instantly. No, I like that. It's extremely well done. This show's really brilliant. Actually, how it does in theory look at the entirety of the narrative, and actually how it does then frame each character in the whole entire narrative. I actually kind of like it. And I kind of like how it's not just disregarded Ikutani actually as well. Ikutani's actually got a lot going on here. From an emotional standpoint, that does in theory then impact the overall kind of narrative, and I actually kind of like that as well. All in all, very brilliant, this show. I do absolutely adore it. This show is so goddamn good. I love it to bits. But yeah, that is my thoughts on this whole entire anime so far. So actually, as always, I should end off the stream in Japanese. So, ご視聴ありがとうございます。僕の動画を面白いと思ったら、いいねやチャンネル登録をお願いします。So, with all that said, indeed being the drive, actually have enjoyed this whole entire stream as a whole on YouTube and doing free. Leave a like because indeed it's been quite a bit. Actually have then enjoyed this whole entire stream as a whole on YouTube and doing free. Leave a sub because indeed it's been quite a bit. Actually have then enjoyed this whole entire stream as a whole on YouTube and doing free. Leave a follow on Twitter. Or join Discord as well, because both do help me quite a lot, and both of them tell me when streams go live and any other streams I do as well. I should also mention as well, this won't go live until hopefully tomorrow, but as of like about 4 hours ago, I think, my channel actually got my channel's enabled to actually then use memberships. So essentially it's kind of like Patreon in the way that you actually kind of join my channel, actually then pick an actual tier out of my actual out of the tiers actually kind of chosen. As I always say of all my streams, actually then all my things actually kind of help me further. Nothing about what I do ever changes. Everything always stays the same. It just means actually if you want to help me and actually then support me further, you actually then can. But then I feel like you actually have to either. It's not as if you actually have to. But actually you be fine first and anything else. I'm always here. Do not worry. So don't worry about it. But if you can, I'll be eternally grateful. But hopefully it should go live tomorrow. I'm not too sure how this whole entire thing works. But if you if you see a join button tomorrow, you know it's actually kind of gone live. So yeah, with all that said, indeed being the driver, we'll then see you tomorrow some more Initial D. So, see you guys later. Bye for now.